Hi everybody, this is Ren the Joules. This is our long-term GoPro Hero 9 Black review.
There it is. Does it suck? Should you spend your money on it? Should you wait to see whatever's next from GoPro? We've got some pretty solid opinions on it after months and months of use.
And of course, this channel is all about bringing multiple perspectives on all the product reviews we'll be doing.
Yeah, and I can tell you right now, the way Degju uses this camera is completely different from the way that I use this camera. So let's get into it. We chose this canyon to do a walk and talk. Why just sit at a desk when you can go for a walk and talk about all this stuff? So the only problem with trying to do a walk and talk in a canyon is this canyon's gnarly. My wife and I, we run a full-time YouTube channel about mountain biking. It's called the Loam Ranger channel. And so we use our GoPros for our jobs. And before we started that YouTube channel, we were professional photographers and videographers for about 10 years. So we have pretty specific tastes for what cameras work for us and what cameras don't. And I push my GoPros to the very, very limit. And so for me, I got this right out of the gate. I was one of the first people to grab the camera from the store. And so I've seen how it's progressed from the first firmware to the latest one. So that's my end of it. And Degju is pretty different. Beep, beep, beep. GoPro running, sweet.
I've only used it for this month.
Yeah, you just started using that thing.
Yeah, I just started using it and took it on recently a canoe camping trip. So 3 days of usage where I used photos, video, stabilization, all of that.
Sorry, I just got really distracted. Look, it's like we're in Minecraft. Look at these blocks. They're like perfectly cut. That's amazing.
Yeah, they are.
Anyways, carrying on.
Nature.
So here's the thing about the camera. It's gonna be a pretty good camera for everybody. It's got pretty great features in basically every situation. But as we said at the beginning of the video, everybody's a little bit different with what they need out of it. And so there's gonna be all these like little differences between the 9 and the 8 and the 7 and like the Insta360 1R and those types of things. That's where the kind of the real deciding factors are. What some people really love about the 9, other people are gonna hate about it. The camera is definitely bigger than it was before. If I try and mount it, you know, like a Hero 8, I was able to mount it underneath the visor of my full face riding helmet, but I can't do that with the 9 because it's so big.
However, I love the big size because it comes with a bigger screen. So the 2.27-inch screen is just easy to maneuver around.
Yeah.
However, there are touch sensitivity issues that I found, but it looks good, but doesn't work that well.
The touchscreen is not super responsive as it is right now, but when that camera first got shipped, the back screen was almost unusable. So they've actually put a ton of work into that. It's still not as sensitive as like the 8 or the 7 or whatever, but it's getting there.
Well, it was getting to a point when I was using it, I thought I was doing something wrong.
I was actually thinking it was like, you know, like the biggest GoPro, but I mean, it might be, but it's also, I have my Hero 4 Black in its waterproof housing next to the Hero 9, and they're basically the exact same size.
Yeah.
So I think we're just starting to get spoiled. The 8 is so compact, it's so lightweight, it's so thoughtfully designed, minus the one big caveat, and that's the non-replaceable lens on the 8. And they went back to the replaceable lens for the 9, which is a huge deal, which is a big bonus for buying the 9 over the 8.
I loved having the screen, especially with our group. I was able to make sure everyone was in the frame for selfies.
So you found it truly useful having that front screen?
Definitely.
That's cool. Yeah, and you know what? When I first got the camera, I didn't really care about that front screen. I didn't think I was ever going to use it. But for me, in the mountain bike scenario, when I've got it set up on a chest mount, being able to just check the angle by looking down at that front screen, super, super helpful, and I really, really appreciate that feature.
So, GoPro claims that their new battery is 30% better than the 8. I used it extensively on this 3-day trip.
Yeah.
And I went through 3 batteries, about 1 a day. Not fully, but I used it extensively, paddling for 6 hours, hiking this next day for a few hours, and just general...
It's like pretty heavy usage.
Yeah. Photos, everything. So...
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
It really is. Like that's... It's definitely one of the very best things about the Hero 9 if you need lots of battery life from a single battery. But this is where it kind of diverges a little bit with what camera is going to be better for which people. Let's put it this way. If you're somebody who does a lot of action kind of stuff in the summertime, or just mostly use the GoPro in the summertime, you're not going to notice as big of a battery difference. The 9 does run longer than the 8 and the 7 and the 6 and the 5, and definitely the 4. The 4 battery life was freaking terrible.
It was the worst.
It's the worst. The real big difference shows up when the temperature drops. So if you're somebody that uses the camera in the wintertime fairly often, or even just in colder temperatures, the 9 is the ticket. That bigger battery size lasts much longer in colder weather.
On this trip, we were in the backcountry and we were right under a glacier.
Oh,
and
cool.
so we were in glacier cold water, and my wife Carrie strapped it on chest mount and dove in. And other times as well, she did swim in the glacier lake water with no problems at all.
I feel like with the Hero 4 Black, if you like drank a little bit of Slurpee and then breathed on it
instantly
would just
dead.
die.
Yeah.
So battery life, it's a big deal. It makes the camera bigger. So if that is a big deal for you for like mounting under a visor, the 8's probably the better bet for you. But overall, yeah, it's a huge plus, the battery life for the Hero 9. All good, everything's fine. So from a new user's perspective and somebody who hasn't had any other digitally stabilized GoPros, he's got nothing but good things to say about it. Me, on the other hand, I've been using them for years and I'm a spoiled brat by this point. And I use like the other types of gimbals and stuff. So one thing I will say is that the digital stabilization on the Hero 9 Black is extremely shutter speed hungry. And what I mean by that is it really, really needs fast shutter speeds in order to do its work. So let me clarify my thoughts on this. The GoPro Hero 9 Black has the best digital image stabilization of, I believe, any action camera out there, any single lens action camera out there. But that statement only applies in well-lit situations with nice bright light. The moment you get into any kind of a dimly lit situation, the Hero 9 Black Hypersmooth 3.0 needs such fast shutter speeds to do its work that you'll either lose that great stabilization altogether because the camera just can't do its job with slower shutter speeds, or it has to crank its own ISO settings way up there, and you wind up with a really mushy, gross looking image. And in all my testing and in my years of using these cameras, I firmly believe that the Hero 9 image falls apart much faster than the Hero 8 or even the Hero 7 Black. So if you're someone who lives, say, in the Pacific Northwest and you find yourselves, deep in the forest all the time where the light levels are pretty low, you might have a bit of a harder time and you might not be all that impressed with the image quality out of the Hero 9 Black, just because that high ISO digital noise. But, if you're somewhere like in Arizona or something and the light is always good and you're not under tree cover all the time, or even under light tree cover, it's gonna look great. It's gonna be nice and crisp, you're not gonna have that digital noise, and the stabilization will be fantastic on this camera. Another thing from my perspective is the flat color picture profile in the camera is not all that flat, especially not compared to a camera like the Hero 4 Black. When you set the camera to a flat picture profile, you're not looking for the super punchy, contrasty look. You don't want all the crazy saturated colors. You want it kind of flat, like how this camera is set right now, this Canon. I have like a custom profile on there. And that's what I'm looking for from a flat profile. And it seems every single year GoPro is making their flat color picture profile contrastier and contrastier and contrastier. And what that means for me on my end when I'm editing is that I don't have the same amount of flexibility for saving highlights and shadows depending on the lighting situation that I'm in. And of course, a huge factor when thinking about whether or not to buy this camera is how does it compare to other cameras? Not only to other GoPros, but to other cameras from different manufacturers like Insta360 or DJI. And so I can tell you from experience, I've used pretty much all of the modern Insta360 cameras, especially on the side of audio. On the audio side of things, with a couple of little tweaks, nothing really touches the GoPro for quality. For image stabilization, they're both decently close, but the GoPro still wins out with their newest Hypersmooth. Overall, as a complete package, since the Hero 7 Black, GoPro has had it over pretty much every other competitor for overall quality of their cameras, for stabilization, for color, for pro options, even though, it's getting a little less pro over the years. But for a straight up single lens action camera, you probably just want to go GoPro. So, should you buy this camera now or should you wait for the next one? This is where I stand on it. Let me know if you agree or not. If you are the average user looking to get a camera right now in the summer of 2021 or even the fall of 2021, and you want to just get some nice clips of the holidays, those sorts of things, I think the Hero 9 is great. The front screen is super handy, like you were saying. Yep. The battery life is good. If you don't mind the little bit of a bulkier size over the Hero 8, it's good to go. I know that there's also some nice deals on the 9 right now too, which typically happens at the end of, that first year of it being out. So look around for those as well. Now on the pro user end of things, I'm willing to bet that you probably own 1 or 2 GoPros as it is already. And in this case, I would probably wait the extra couple of months to wait and see what's in the next iteration. I would expect that on the Hero 10 or whatever it's going to be, that they're going to be improving the low light performance of this sensor. I doubt that they will change sensors, but I do believe that they're either going to completely change the processor or they're going to really tweak it to clean up the muddiness and the shadows and that sort of digital noise and grain, which is a really huge deal for people like myself. And fingers crossed, they bring in real steady stabilization into the whole hyper smooth bucket of stabilization on the camera itself. And that would be really, really worth waiting for from a pro user's perspective. Well, that is the long-term review of the Hero 9 Black from GoPro. If you found this video helpful, give the vid a like. That really helps spread it out to more people. And spoiler, this is the very first video on the channel. I don't know if you happen to notice that or not, but if you can hit that subscribe button, that'd be pretty awesome. We have a very lofty goal of trying to get to 1,000 subscribers in 1 month.
And we will.
Oh, yeah, we totally will, because you'll hit the subscribe button if you wanted to. I mean, like, what's the worst that'll happen?
Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you in a couple of weeks on our next product review video.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Since this is our first video, please
like and subscribe.
Please like and subscribe.
Oh, our moms will worry about us if we don't like and subscribe. We're in our mid-30s. What are we doing?